That's a really good question. The first book is called Swift Currents, and it's about what happened on these islands. Between 1861 and 1863. It's about the Port Royal experiment. I know you all know that name from actually studying Reconstruction already. It's what the Lincoln administration did with this area, and I didn't want to tell it like a historian, to tell it as a fictional history from the perspective of folks who were enslaved in 1861 out on these islands. And so the book begins in November of 1861, just before the big gun shoot that freed 10,000 people in one day. And I felt like the people in our country did not know the story. They did not know that. People who were enslaved up from that condition and helped them take advantage of their freedom. And it felt like a big story to me to share, not as a historian, which I'm not. I used to work for the government and I worked in civil rights for 30 years. And I wanted to share the story about what happened when freedom came to all these people on these islands and when slavery ended in the United States. So the first book was from 1861 to 1863. And I started writing it. Am I talking too much? And I started writing it as a Civil War book. But when I finished it, I realized that it was a Reconstruction book, and that in fact the story of what happened to those characters from 1861 to 1863 went on for another 20 or 30 years as part of Reconstruction. So my second book, and I'll stop real quick after this, my second book starts in 1893, 30 years later. And it looks back on Reconstruction and what happened to the good and to the bad. You know, if you know the story of Reconstruction, for about 10 or 12 or 14 years, things were going pretty well for the people who had been freed from slavery. But shortly after that, because folks took over the government of South Carolina and things went downhill for those who had been freed, and I wanted to try and write that story too. So that's basically why I started writing the first book and why I went to the second book, to try and share Reconstruction from the perspective of real people, or in this case, pretend people. So the book is about real history, but it's about a sister and two brothers who were in slavery in 1861 and what happened to them over the next 32 years. Okay.